The story begins in the familiar, cluttered comfort of 221B Baker Street. Sherlock Holmes and Dr. Watson are visited by a man named Dr. James Mortimer, an eccentric naturalist who carries a heavy walking stick. Before the man even speaks, Holmes performs one of those classic demonstrations of his deductive power. He examines the walking stick, notes the wear on it, and concludes exactly who Mortimer is and what his profession entails. It's a moment that establishes the baseline of logic and reason, before the story plunges into something much more unsettling. Dr. Mortimer has come to present a problem that defies easy explanation. On the vast, lonely estate of Dartmoor, Sir Charles Baskerville has died. The official cause was a heart attack, but the circumstances were terrifying. Near the body, Mortimer discovered the massive, glowing footprints of a hound, a creature that shouldn't exist. This brings us to the legend of the Baskervilles, a curse dating back to 1742. It is said that a demonic hound, unleashed by the wicked Hugo Baskerville, has haunted the family line ever since. For a man of science like Mortimer, the coincidence of the death and the legend is too striking to ignore. He fears that the curse is real, and he fears it is coming for the next heir. That heir is Sir Henry Baskerville, a man arriving from Canada to claim his inheritance. He is a man of practical mind, but even he cannot ignore the growing sense of dread. Shortly after his arrival, he receives an anonymous, threatening note. The note is strange. It's made of letters cut from a newspaper, but the handwriting suggests the sender is trying to appear uneducated, a trick that Holmes immediately identifies as the work of someone quite clever and well-read. Holmes, sensing the danger but unable to leave London for certain reasons, decides to send Dr. Watson to Dartmoor. Watson's job is to act as a bodyguard for Sir Henry, and to keep a watchful eye on the inhabitants of the estate. As Watson arrives at Baskerville Hall, the atmosphere is heavy and oppressive. This is the heart of the Gothic mystery. The house is grand but gloomy, the moors are vast and treacherous, and the local servants seem to be hiding deep anxieties. Watson meets the butler, Barrymore, who is visibly distressed, and one night Watson hears the sound of a woman sobbing in the dark. The investigation on the moor is a slow descent into paranoia. Watson begins to meet the neighbours, a naturalist named Jack Stapleton and his beautiful sister, Beryl. The Stapletons seem like an unlikely source of trouble, but the tension in the area is rising. One day, Beryl Stapleton manages to intercept Watson in private. She is terrified and begs him to warn Sir Henry to leave the moor immediately. Before he can press her for details, she vanishes, leaving Watson with more questions than answers. As Watson continues his observations, he notices that the Barrymores are acting strangely. He sees the butler making secret signals with a candle toward the dark expanse of the moor at night. It seems as though someone is being communicated with under the cover of darkness. The sense of being watched becomes literal when Watson discovers a man living in a remote stone hut on the moor, a man who has been monitoring every move made at the hall. Just as the tension reaches a breaking point, Holmes makes his move. He reveals that he hasn't been in London at all. He has been hiding on the moor in a disguise, observing the players from the shadows. His presence changes everything. Through Holmes's logic, the pieces of the puzzle begin to click into place, and they paint a picture far more human and more sinister than a supernatural curse. The man known as Stapleton is not just a wandering naturalist. He is actually a descendant of the Baskerville line, a branch of the family that had fled to South America generations ago. He has come to the moor with a calculated plan to eliminate the current heir so he can claim the Baskerville fortune. Even more shocking is the truth about his companion. The woman posing as his sister is actually his wife, whom he has manipulated and kept under a veil of deception. To catch him, Holmes orchestrates a high-stakes trap. He and Watson stage a fake departure for London, leaving Sir Henry as the bait. The plan is to wait for the beast to strike so they can catch the culprit in the act. As a thick, blinding fog rolls across the moor, the nightmare finally manifests. A massive, coal-black hound, wreathed in actual terrifying flames, emerges from the mist and lunges at Sir Henry. It is a sight that seems to confirm the legend, but as the group fights back, the illusion breaks. The hound is a real dog, but it has been chemically treated with phosphorus to make its fur glow and its breath appear as fire. It is a man-made monster, designed to exploit the very superstitions that the Baskervilles have lived with for centuries. With the beast dead, the truth comes out in full. They find Mrs. Stapleton, who has been bound and gagged, and she reveals the full extent of her husband's cruelty and his elaborate scheme. the villain, Stapleton, realizes the game is up and attempts to escape. He flees into the Grimpen Mire, a treacherous, bubbling bog that covers much of the moor. In the darkness and the fog, he loses his way and is swallowed by the mire, vanishing forever. When we step back from the terror of the Hound, we find that the book is doing something much more complex than a simple detective story. It is a clash between two different ways of seeing the world. On one side, you have the Victorian ideal of scientific rationalism, represented by Holmes, who believes every mystery has a logical, material explanation. On the other side, you have the ancient, irrational power of folklore and superstition. The genius of the book is that it uses the tools of the supernatural to hide a very modern, very human crime. The central conflict isn't actually between Holmes and a ghost, it's between Holmes and a man who uses the idea of a ghost to commit murder. Stapleton is a master of masking. He masks his identity, he masks his wife's true relationship to him, and most importantly, he masks his intentions behind the veneer of a natural phenomenon. He uses the curse as a psychological weapon, knowing that the fear of the unknown will make his victims less likely to look for a rational explanation. This brings us to the theme of atavism, which was a major preoccupation of the era in which Arthur Conan Doyle was writing. Atavism is the idea that certain biological traits from our ancestors can resurface in later generations. In the book, there is a constant tension between the civilized present and a primal, animalistic past. This is seen in the physical descriptions of the characters, particularly Stapleton, whose features are noted to have a certain resemblance to the ancestral Hugo Baskerville. The Hound itself is a symbol of this, a beast that represents the wild, uncontrolled nature of the moor breaking into the structured, polite world of the English landed gentry. The landscape of Dartmoor plays a massive role in this. The moor isn't just a setting, it acts as a character in its own right. It is oppressive, unpredictable, and indifferent to human life. The Grimpen Mire, with its ability to swallow a man whole without a trace, provides a sense of cosmic dread that complements the more localized terror of the Hound. The environment dictates the mood of the entire narrative, moving from the fog-choked valleys to the treacherous bogs, ensuring that the characters and the reader never feel truly safe. In the end, the resolution of the mystery is a triumph of logic, but it's a hollow victory in many ways. While Holmes has successfully debunked the supernatural, the human element remains just as dark. The monster wasn't a demon from the 700s. It was a man using science and deception to satisfy greed. The book suggests that while we can use reason to explain away the ghosts of our past, we are still vulnerable to the very real, very living monsters that walk among us, wearing the masks of neighbours, scientists, or even family members. It is this intersection of the scientific and the sensational that makes The Hound of the Baskervilles so enduring. It satisfies the craving for a thrilling, atmospheric mystery while providing a profound look at the anxieties of a world caught between old legends and new, often terrifying, scientific realities. Holmes may have solved the case, but the shadow of the moor remains.